This is the Dallas Area Writers Group presenting Michelle Stimpson, using artificial intelligence tools to improve writing. For more information about the Dallas Area Writers Group, please go to www.dallaswriters.org. And now, please welcome our guest speaker, Michelle Stimpson. Michelle Stimpson's topic today is how to use artificial intelligence AI tools to improve writing. Michelle has been more than 50 faith-based books, including traditional bestseller Boaz Brown, the beloved Mama B series, and Deacon Brown's Daughters, for which she produced an award-winning independent film. Additionally, she has published more than 50 short stories through her educational publishing company, WeGottaRead.com. Michelle holds an English degree from Jarvis Christian College and a master's degree in education from the University of Texas at Arlington. She loves combining her passion for writing with her gift for teaching and training adults on various topics.
Let me just open this kind of with a caveat. I did a workshop yesterday with teachers where we talked about AI. This has huge implications for students at school because the kids have figured it out, but the teachers don't know anything about it. I'm not saying anything, but I mean, technology is like teachers have taken the summer off, and they deserve that break. And while they've been doing that, students have been figuring out about ChatGPT and those kinds of things and trying to figure out how they're going to use it to their benefit. Many people are using it well, but it's just like the internet. It can be used to reunite people, or it can be used to traffic people. The internet is just like that. And AI is along that same note. So just give you a little bit of a caveat that there's lots of controversy about this, particularly in our field as writers. And I wanted to do this workshop because I think there are a lot of interesting things happening, and I don't want you to not be aware, and I don't want you to get taken, because some of the stuff that I'm going to show you tonight, people will charge you hundreds of dollars to do what's going to take about 7 seconds on the computer. All right. So I hope this will be helpful for some folks, for everybody, and that you're aware of what's going on out here. So let me just kind of get a quick idea of where everybody is on all this stuff. And so I'm going to have you in the chat or just in the room. Let me put my other glasses on. By show of your hand, either show number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or even 0 if you haven't heard nothing about ChatGPT. I'll just start with that one. Let me just see where you are. Just show me your hand. Where are you? So I can know where my class is. Okay. All right. We got some. I don't think I got a couple of 0s, a couple of 5s. Now, was that a 0 or a 5 over there? Okay, because I thought you would give me a whole 5. I was like, come on up. Okay. We got a 5 in the house. Okay, 0s. All right. And in the chat, where are we in the chat? All right. I don't see anybody putting in the Zoom telling me where they are just yet. But all right, that gives me an idea. We got a wide range. Oh, okay, we're looking good then. All right. So every time I do a workshop along this, I learn something new. And so hopefully those of you who are 4s or 5s can still learn some things as well. So thanks for being here. Thanks for participating. Here was the workshop description, which you probably saw online. I'm going to do something with it here in just a second. We're going to be discovering free or low-cost AI tools, AI meaning artificial intelligence tools, that will transform your writing in any genre. So in this workshop, we're going to be experiencing the power of AI firsthand as we collectively create and revise short drafts in real time. So get ready for some fun tonight, and we're going to just have good old-fashioned fun. One thing I want to do to kind of get us going, for those of you who are 0s or who are 1s, and you're like, I didn't even know this what we're talking about tonight, I wouldn't have came. Because some people are like, I've never done that. Like, you go somewhere, you're like, wait a minute, this is not even something I want to know in my life. But you might get on board when I just do this quick example. So here's our description that I just read to you. For demo purposes, I am going to have ChatGPT, which is a form of AI, rewrite the description to this workshop. So I'm over here in ChatGPT, which is, again, kind of the basis for a lot of the AI that we'll be talking about tonight. And I'm going to put this description over here. I just copied and pasted it. I want the AI to rewrite it, though. What can we have it? What kind of parameters can we give it? I'm going to say rewrite this workshop description. What do we want it to do? Make it a poem? And make it a poem in the voice of Jane Eyre. J-A, how do you spell Jane Eyre? J-A-Y? J-A-N-E. E-Y-E-R. I can't even spell. Here is the poem. E-Y-R-E. Thank you. It's one of those spellings that I always forget every single time. All right, here is the description. And let's see what they come up with. In the moors of the digital realm we tread, the lands of AI where words are wed. Free or frugal tools await to transform your tales, however great. In this gathering beneath the virtual sky, experience the might of AI, oh my. Together we draft, in the moment revise, watch your prose before our very eyes. Okay, some of y'all look like, what just happened to me? This is the power of AI. Just take a minute, breathe it in. I could say, I don't like this poem, regenerate, give me another one. Let me click regenerate. Here comes another one. Just gonna rewrite it a different way. Ooh, let's do him, yes. Ooh, okay. Let's, thank you. I'm always very polite to my AI. Please write it again in the voice of Edgar Allan Poe. Ooh, let's see what's gonna happen. In the darkest depths. All righty then. So that's just a really, really quick and brief example of what AI can do. It can make, let's see, make it into a HAIKU. Dark AI secrets. Minds merge and tales transform fast. Pose shadows cast long. I don't remember the rules of a haiku. Anybody remember them? 5. Did we do it? Did it do it? Okay. All right. Yeah, I picked up from the previous one, right? So here's the thing. Because one of the first questions that people ask, and people who are like, I don't want to know nothing about this stuff, they want to know how it's different from a Google search. Her face is like, we're not even talking about the same thing right now. But on a Google search, you go online, you're searching for best recipes for whatever, right? And it'll the first 10 are going to be somebody trying to get you to buy, soup mix or whatever. And then those searches are not connected. But when you're in something like ChatGPT, your conversations will be saved. So all the conversations that I had yesterday, I had a chicken Alfredo conversation in front of us, some people. That was a demo, which we'll do again today, actually. If I want to go back to that conversation next week and say, and if I want to go back to this about the workshop description and say, write it again as, the song and whatever, it'll pick right back up. Like we never stop talking and keep on going with that conversation. It's like having an ongoing conversation with a robot, if that makes sense. So I could say, I don't like that one. Or I could say, why did you write it that way? Or I could say, rewrite this because can you write this so that a 5-year-old can understand it? You could do that too. So just as a quick understanding of what this is for the people of you who just came in, let me just give y'all 1 second because some of y'all's faces are like, what just happened to me? Can you just say hello to somebody near you and just say, will you be my person? I need to talk to you. She's going to have some breaks and I'm going to need to talk to somebody. So just introduce yourself to somebody in the room real quickly. Say hi to find your person. And then people that are in the chat, I'll be your person. I'll be your people. Or maybe you can privately message them if you want to. All right, so let's get going. Well, we kind of already got going. If you can imagine, this has lots of implications for writing. So tonight we're going to cover what is this stuff, and I've kind of given you a quick intro on that. I'm going to talk about some of the current issues with AI. We're going to look at the tools. I have about 4 or 5 of them that we're going to look at, and then we're going to continue to experiment live as we go with these different tools. And then if we have time, we'll have some Q&A. I'm going to start with a quick video that'll kind of hopefully give you some context for what's really going on. Hey, those are my people. Okay, I got excited about the people in the chat. So for those of you who make videos and such as a part of your marketing or whatever, I use Pictory AI for that. I've used ChatGPT and Pictory AI for that. I don't know why it's going off the edge like that. It didn't do that yesterday. It took me about 4 minutes to make that video. I put in ChatGPT, I'm having a meeting with some people who haven't heard about this. Can you give me the script for a video? ChatGPT picked out the script for the video. I took the script to Pictory AI. They picked the videos. They put the whole thing together in about, well, it took longer for it to synchronize and download than for it to be created. So that's one of the ways that authors are using it to make book trailers and stuff like that. I made this whole thing free. That's why it has the watermark. But I mean, if you get a free trial, you can stay in there for a couple of weeks and get what you want and get out. I'm not saying you need to do that. I'm just saying. All right. I heard somebody say they actually had I did not even know about slide rules. When I made the video, that's how I learned about slide rules. I didn't even know that was a thing. So, okay, are they coming back?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, so let's jump into like what is all this stuff and a little bit of background and a couple of everyday uses. I think I got to get off of here and go find it real quickly. But so ChatGPT came out in November of 2022. So it's months old at this point, right? And there's a controversy behind it in that it basically is everything on the internet. Everything that's out there, everything people have put up all over the world is being put into this machine that knows everything now that's on the internet. The issues behind it are that people feel like nobody was after permission for that. No permission was garnered in order to be able to. So they didn't break any copyright rule because they didn't actually copy and paste, but they trained the robot to analyze what was already out there without anybody's permission. Like all of our blog posts, all books, everything that's on the internet since the internet became the internet is where it all comes from. And so there are issues behind that. I want to share a couple of other everyday uses in my demo. I kind of got ahead of myself with my controversy because I like controversy. I think this is why I write novels, because I like myth. But some of the other everyday uses that people are using them for are for resumes. So you could take a resume that you have, and let's say you're looking for a job, and you know every single time you see a job post, you got to rewrite your job. You could copy and paste your resume, copy and paste the job description, and say, rewrite my resume based on this job description. It will kick it right back out to you every single time. And you could ask it, what did you change and why? And it will tell you. So then you'll have that information for the next time that you get ready to, if you want to do it yourself. So that's one of the everyday uses that people are using it for. One of the things that I showed folks yesterday, which I'll do it again over here. Let's just say you're at home and you don't know what to make because you are not that great of a cook like me. And you just say, I have chicken breasts. I have pasta, cheese, a few herbs, and some, what else do normal people have? Bread. Some what? Rice. What can I make? for dinner tonight? All right, I can make cheesy chicken pasta. I can make herb-infused rice with chicken. Okay, I could have gotten that probably on Google, maybe. But let's just say I'm allergic to what they put up here. Well, so I might say, sorry, I'm allergic to milk or to dairy. Okay, I could do oregano. Give me something else. All right, we're going to do some other things over here. So you can have this ongoing conversation with this robot about this if this is what you wanted to do. So people are using it for resumes. People are using it for recipes. People are using it to say, I need to do 1,200 calories a day, and I only eat chicken and rice and broccoli and such, and I hate cottage cheese. Don't give me any recipe with cottage cheese, and it'll kick out your recipes. Now print out the list for the grocery store, so I don't have to go through. It'll print out that whole list for you. You just take it to the grocery store. Like, this is how people are using this kind of stuff every single day. So just as an FYI, there's that one. Let's go ahead and get into some of the controversy. We talked about how they were trained. I'm really concerned about what this means for the future of literature, because in a second, I'm going to show you how you can outline the whole book. And I will say right now, AI cannot write a good book for you. It can write a book. It can write you a whole book. It will not be a very good book right now. But where we're going to be in 6 months with this technology getting better and better and better. I watched a YouTube video where the one of the founders of it said, 4 or 5 years ago, it was as smart as a kindergartner. And then in a couple of months, it was as smart as a 10-year-old. And then like one time, it only spoke like 4 languages. And then like the next day they woke up, that thing knew 17 different languages, and they don't even know how that happened. And I'm like, whoa, that's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. What is that movie? Terminator stuff, right? So I'm like, oh my goodness, this is really interesting. But those are things that kind of concern me. I know that there are, as a writer, when I was thinking about Alan showing the contract, talking about the contracts and stuff, there are ways to train an AI on your voice so that it can write like you. Well, who's to say that my editor or my agent or my publisher won't start keeping my manuscripts, training their AI, writing books and saying, if you like books by Michelle Stimpson, you'll love books by so-and-so and so-and-so. Now they have to pay me anything. And they can market that person, fake person, right? And so now it's like, we got to go back and think about the contracts. And these are things that we didn't think about before. Like when I first published my first book, there was no such thing as an ebook. So nobody had ebook clauses. And publishers wanted to keep those books forever because they were saying they had the rights, and we were saying nobody had the rights because we didn't even know what it was in those old contracts. Now that AI is out, it's like, who owns my voice? Who has the right to train bots? I'm like, Amazon has everybody's manuscript. Who are they going to train? What are they going to do with all that? Right? So anyway, those are some of the concerns that I have. I think people are trying to struggle with what's the line between using this as a tool and using this to generate your words. That's another piece that we're thinking. And somebody's like, what about our brains? Like, how are we going to still be thinking? There are lots of ideas, things going on right now with copyright. Earlier this year, last year, Congress said we're going to have to, the Library of Congress says we're going to have to understand what's going on before we can even make a law on this whole thing. We have plagiarism laws in effect, right? But the thing about AI is this, it's not somebody else's work. This is completely new generated work from a computer. You can't put it in, and you can't run it through a plagiarism checker because it's going to pass because it's brand new stuff. Now, if you put in plagiarism, you'll get plagiarism. So if you put in the first sentence of Harry Potter, it's going to give you the rest of that paragraph because it knows from the internet that that's what goes together. But if we're talking about just straight up who owns it, we know that by law, a person is the only person that a computer can't have copyright. Copyright has to go to a person. So who gets that copyright, and how much do you have to edit it for it to actually be yours? It's just a really fine line. So they said they would take the first half of the year of 2023 to figure out what was going on, and that they would get back to us and let us know what this means. Right now, there is something in place, and I'm not a lawyer, so let me just say that. Right now, there's something in place right now saying that you have to declare if you're using AI, but the definition of, well, what if I just used it like I use a thesaurus to change 2 words? Does that mean it's AI? What's the percentage? What is it? What are you saying? If I change 1 sentence, now I have to declare this thing, or, So right now, as I understand it, most folks are like, well, when they define it, then I'll figure it out, because it hasn't really been defined well, which happens with a lot of laws, by the way. But anyway, I worry about what they're doing with my words right now. There are some limitations that ChatGPT has, like I told you, and all of these things have. I don't think they're as good as human writers. Your heart, your soul are always still going to make your story your story. I do think what it means for us, though, is that as writers, we have to get out there more and let people see our faces more, because that's what people are going to be, they're going to be drawn to that now. I mean, we already have 300 million books out there, and a lot of them are really, really good. The authors I think that are doing the best are the ones who are getting in touch with people and keeping those relationships. So that's going to be even more important the more that I think publishers and other folks try to put out books that aren't really written by people. Some limitations about ChatGPT and such, there is a cutoff date to its knowledge. The last big info dump was in October of 2021. So if you ask it a question like, when did the Queen of England pass? It will say, as far as I know, she's still alive, because it doesn't know anything that happened after 2021. So if you're working on a thesis or a master's, that research is not going to be up to date enough. I wouldn't even trust ChatGPT for research anyway, but I'm just saying it's not going to be up to date. It can be inaccurate. And it's been inaccurate many times. Even as a writer, when I've looked at some things and I asked it for an idea once, I was like, what could happen to these people that would cause them to have to, get closer? And it said, maybe the power could go out. Well, that wasn't going to work because they were making dinner. So it doesn't know, unless you're camping outside, but it doesn't know all that stuff. So it can be inaccurate. It also wants to make you happy. So it's never going to tell you when you're wrong. Okay. So if you say I have pepper and chicken, can you make me a recipe? Sure. Here's a great pepper and chicken recipe. And it's nasty, but they're going to be happy. They're just trying to keep you happy. So when I talk to it about my writing, I will say, what are my strengths and my weaknesses in this paragraph? Otherwise, it's just going to tell me this is a great paragraph. Okay. So ask for what you want. It's also very biased. It is built off of all the information on the internet, which is put up by all the people all over the world. And there is bias all over the world, right? So you're going to get information back that's biased. Whoever has the most negative stuff out there on them, it's going to show up in the data. And it's going to show up on ChatGPT. And then finally, I've noticed lately that some of my things are disappearing in my history. So some of those topics that I had on the side, some of them are leaving. I don't know why they're leaving. I don't know what's going on with that. But let's go ahead and, I just shared this one for some teachers that I worked with yesterday. Like I said, we were talking about what is plagiarism. They're going to have to rethink plagiarism and cheating in schools. I'll tell you that right now, because some people, their idea was, well, since they're using this ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is free. Let me just say that, free. So that means everybody wants it, right? Technically, you're supposed to be 18 years or older with a parent, or you could be under that with a parent's permission. But it's kind of like saying you got to have a parent's permission to have an Instagram account. Really, push the button, and there you go. There's your account. Some people were like, "Well, we're gonna just have to make kids write everything out by hand." I think you just messed up a whole bunch. You just caused yourself a whole bunch of more issues. We got to figure out how to make this work for us. So I found this in a book for teachers, where we're talking about everything from at the bottom is totally human generated content. Student wrote the assignment content without consulting AI or the internet for anything, all the way up to, I think I probably would flip it if it were my chart. Student plugged a prompt into AI and copied the response and submitted to the teacher. Like, what's in the middle part, we've got student created the AI and used the best parts and edited and then submitted it. Like, would you consider that cheating? Or would you consider that just being smart and working harder and smarter and not harder? We got to think about that for students, but also for ourselves as writers. I can't tell you where to draw your line. Your publisher may tell you where to draw the line. I found a lot of publishers are being very quiet about it. I have one friend who's with a publisher, and they had a whole meeting and told them how to use it because they were like, you know what, the cat's out of the bag. You can't put this back. And then my publisher has said nothing. They've had several workshops, nothing on AI. I almost think it's kind of a don't ask, don't tell situation right now in the industry. So just FYI, there's things. And then there are people who said their agent dropped them because they thought they wrote AI. So it's been interesting to see people's reactions to this. The Authors Guild is very anti-AI for reasons various and sundry. The big thing, it's not that they're anti-AI. It's like, if you're going to train something with my voice, I need to get paid. That's kind of where they are with that. That's part of the reason that the writers with the screenwriters are on strike right now, is because of that. All right, so let me pause. Talk to somebody near you. Tell them where you are right now on this whole thing. Before we get into some more, we're going to get into some examples. Talk to your partner. Talk to your PR people in the chat. Where are you? Are you feeling like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
If you talk so fast, you know this stuff right away, but if you talk so fast,
Okay.
you can't pick it up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. You won't be sleeping tonight, right? All right, let's come back together. Let's come back together. All right, come back to me in 5, 4, 3, and 2, and 1. All right, we're looking good. So wherever you are, just hold your horses for a second. Let's do some more demos and see what we can find out. All right, so the tools that we're going to try tonight, and I'm going to try to speak slower. I know I get it. Part of it is that I just get excited, I think. But we're going to try ChatGPT, which is free, or it's $20 a month if you want the kind of upgraded version, okay, which is 4.0. StudoWrite is free for a trial period, and then it's either $10 anywhere up to $100 a month if you want to use that one. And I have an affiliate link there just because that's what I do on this part. I really like this program. And so that means if you decide to use my link, I'll get a little bit of a commission, but it's not even a whole lot. But I'm just saying, if you're going to be doing it, you got a free demo tonight, just go ahead and click my link. Or you can just go to StudoWrite if that's what you want to do. StudoWrite, I mean, it's going to be the same price for you no matter what, but I'll get a cut, kind of like Amazon. The company itself, StudoWrite, gets the money. Yeah, like an online subscription. Yeah. I am going to show you Poe, which is called Claude. It's fun that we were talking about Edgar Allan Poe. And then I'm going to show you a couple of places where people are playing around with art in the industry. And you might not even sleep tonight because this is a lot to think about. But I think it's also very freeing. If you've been struggling to get started with your wording, if you're trying to figure out what could my outline be, what are some of the tropes of my genre, this could be really helpful for you to understand how to get started. So take what you want, leave what you don't want, and do what you do. I'm not going to police you. Maybe when the law changes, you'll have somebody else policing you. Right now, it is the Wild Wild West. Okay, so let's start with ChatGPT, which is where we were before. You could use ChatGPT for brainstorming, outlining, writing, revising, editing, marketing. People are planning their entire social media with this. If you don't like social media, this needs to be one of your best friends, right? So let's go back to it and let's just play around with it. Somebody throw out something that a topic, a nonfiction. Let's go nonfiction for now. A nonfiction topic that you might want to write about. All right, let's go with sharks. I want to write a book about sharks. Please give me 20 possible chapter titles. Chapters. I'm gonna say chapters. Chapter titles and I want to say what's in the title and the possible content for the titles. For the chapters. Okay, let me make sure this makes sense. I want to write a book about sharks. Please give me 20 possible chapter titles and possible content for each chapter. Does that make sense to y'all? All right, here we go. Let's see what we come up with. Okay, those are 20 possible chapter titles. Let's take a look at them. Mysteries of the Deep, explore the allure and fascination of sharks. Delve into the evolutionary history of sharks. Examine the unique anatomy of sharks. Discover the incredible diversity of sharks. Explore the hunting and feeding behaviors of sharks. All right, there's a lot of shark stuff. Okay, so I could decide, hey, I like, tell me more, because I don't really know about the oceanic nomadic nature of sharks. I could say, tell me more about number 6, about chapter number 6, because that may be one that I like. Okay, so they're actually outlining the whole chapter for me now. What would be the introduction of that chapter? What are the patterns of migration of the sharks? What does this mean for conservation right now? Okay, so let's say I like, oh, you know what? I actually think I want to write a whole book just about this, because I could write a whole book just about this right now. I could at this point say, just for time purposes, I'm going to ask it, could you please write the first 500 words of this chapter, of chapter 6? I want to be clear. And it's just going to start writing. The first 500 words are there. If I don't, now let me just say this, as a person who's played around with this for several months now, I probably would read this and it would sound like AI to me. If you do it enough, you're going to be like, yeah, I can tell nobody wrote that. And it can be very generic. Now, if I went back and said, I have been studying sharks for 27 years, and here are the 10 things that I want to talk about and why, my output would be a whole lot more specific. And it would probably pass those AI checkers, because at that point, I did a lot of thinking. And that makes my output more specific and better. But I could definitely imagine a person, thank you, Rue. I could definitely imagine a person using this to help them outline a book. If you had an outline already, you could copy it from your Word file or wherever you have it and say, here is my outline. Can you help? Here are the 10 things I know I want to write about. Can you help me figure out a way, what should come first? What should come second? And give me your rationale for this, and it will do it. And you can agree or disagree, but I'm just saying. Joan asks, can you narrow it down to a specific age group? For example, a children's book? Yes, you could. So I could say, I am going to write this book for children, ages 5 to 8. Please rewrite chapter 6, the first chapter 6 for this age group. Okay, there it goes. Much shorter. The vocabulary is different. Sentence structure should be better suited for that age group. So you could use it to help you outline, to help you plan, to give you ideas, to evaluate what you've already done, to reorganize what you've done. You can use it like a writing partner. If I were sitting with a group of my friends talking about a novel, I would say, what do you think, girl? And she would say, you need to fix that because that's not right. But this is really interesting. Move that up to the front. It's the same thing that's happening with a robot that has read probably 87 million books and can give me some feedback from that database. All right. Okie doke. I don't know if it's averages, but I know that people say that I've heard, and this is all speculation, that it is a next word predictor. A next word predictor. Is there anybody in here who's got more ideas they can add to that? I'll be sure to, anybody else? What are you thinking over there? Okay, I will in a second. Someone in the purple was going to ask. I'll repeat it in a second. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. The comment was we have a person who's been playing around with it for several hours, and after a while it gets pretty repetitive. I would agree with you, and especially if you are just putting in very generic prompts. Give me a book about sharks. It's going to sound just, even if you're looking at, I remember I was playing around with it for my opening scenes of 3 different chapters. And in every single chapter, the sun was coming in through the window. And then everybody had white knuckles. I was like, really? Yes. 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 So. Yes. Yes. So we've got lots of ideas about how it gets really, really generic and repetitive. All right. My random number it gave me was 14. Somebody said ask it for a random number and it'll give you 17. It's very close to 17. It gave me 14. All right. Donna. Did you have a question? There was a question up here. Oh, yes. The question is, have people put in portions of their writing and told it to finish? Yes. I'm not using it in that way, but I know that if you train it to your voice, like if you say, because you could copy and paste thousands of words into here. And we're about to go to pseudo-write where it kind of does that. You could copy and paste a chapter of your work in here and tell it, this is a sample of my work. I want you to learn my voice. Copy and paste it in there, and it'll say your voice is it's going to tell you something really nice because that's what it does. And then it will say, you are amazing, and here's what you do well, and it'll give you some descriptors of your writing. And you can copy that and then say, okay, here is how I write. Use this style to write, the next chapter of this book or whatever, if you give it the outline or whatever. But there's also people telling me if you just tell it, write as my ghost writer, that's a term that it knows. If you teach it there's all kinds of stuff. We're going to practice something here in a second. All right, let's go to pseudo-write, which is the second AI on the list. Now, pseudo-write is built on top of ChatGPT. So what I mean is ChatGPT is the underlying engine of pseudo-write. There are probably 1,000 companies a day coming out building something on top of ChatGPT. Pseudo-write is built for writers, fiction writers. Let me add that as well. And basically what they're doing is they've got this whole interface where you fill in with things, and they ask ChatGPT and they come back and give it to you in their platform. That's pretty much how they all work. So let me go ahead to pseudo-write, and we're going to do something over there. So yours wouldn't look like this when you were there, but mine does because I've been playing around with it quite a bit. I do my blurbs when I get finished writing a book. I'll take my description and go, I need you to write something better than this, and they'll rewrite my blurb for me. So that works too. So here is the opening chapter of a book that I probably will write it's done. It's been done for a long time, but it's The whole thing is a hot mess. I just can't even talk about it right now. Okay, but I like the start of this. 1, 2, 3. Alvinetta Williams closed her misting brown eyes, grasped the corded rope, and pulled as though her life depended on it. In a way, it did. The high-pitched gong resonated throughout the room and sent sound waves of peace throughout Alvinetta's whole healed body. Pulling this rope, ringing this cancer survivor's bell wouldn't have happened without all the people cheering around her right now. That is my own personal writing. I wrote that by myself. Now, I am bad about senses. I don't do well with smells and sounds, and I'm not good at that as a writer. But I can go over here and be like, what do y'all think? So I'm going to just highlight this whole thing and tell it. Let's start with just a rewrite, because this is the opening scene of my book, and I really want it to be really, really strong. So let me just see what they do with the rewrite. Oh, they're asking me, what do I want to do? Do I want to rephrase it? Do I want to make it shorter, more descriptive, show, not tell, more inner conflict, more intense? More descriptive. Let's see what we come up with. I clicked more descriptive. All right, let's see what we got here. The floor vibrated, making the soles of her bare feet warm. That don't even make no sense. All right, and so what they're adding is in purple. Can you see it over here on the right? What they're adding is purple, is in purple, and what I had is black. Okay, so this is where she belonged. That doesn't make any sense. Alvinetta Brown closed her misting brown eyes and wrapped her hands around the thick cord. I might like the thick cord. I might keep that. The world still stood for one bizarre moment as she grabbed the rope. Okay, I like it standing still. I don't like the bizarre thing, but I like the world standing still. So I might keep that. The high-pitched clang. I don't know if I like clang or gong better. Resonated throughout the, let's see, the room, sending sound waves of peace flooding through. What did I have before? Sound wave. I put throughout, but they're saying flooding through her. Oh, I like flooding through your body a little bit better. So you see how I could pick and choose what I want from this and make my writing even stronger. Yes. I've heard it's not in mine. Maybe I need to do some type of thing. Yeah. Okay, so I knew it was coming, but you're the first person I've heard. Okay, so someone in the room is saying that they're using Google Docs, and there's a little helper that's coming up to ask them if they want them to do stuff like this. Thank you. Well, yes, all kinds of stuff. It's so, yes, the only reason I like pseudo-write is something else I'm going to show y'all in a second, but I like having it like all in one spot like this, but that's just me. I could expand this. I think expand is what makes them keep writing it. I'm not sure. Let me see. Oh, okay. No, it just gets a little bit more detailed and all that kind of stuff. So if my word count is low, I might expand it. I could say write. And I think this is where it starts to, it's Dr. Michaels. Okay, I don't even have a Dr. Michaels in my book. But Dr. Michael stepped forward, a small smile on his lips. Congratulations, Alvinetta. Like, you did it. This, to me, I feel like, okay, now we're into a whole other type of thing happening, right? This is where I draw my line, but not everybody draws the line right there. I'm just saying. But what I really came here for in the first place with pseudo-write was because I liked the senses. So I'm going to just highlight and put the senses over here. And now it's going to tell me what are the sights and the smells and the tastes and the sounds that would have been in that room. So here we go. Black brass Buddha-shaped statue. Well, that's not happening, I don't think. But lights dimmed. Let's see. Red and white cancer survivor's bell seems to glow and pulse in the sunlight. There's more sunlight beaming in Central Park. We're not there. So a mix of, okay, this thing thinks we are probably at like a Buddhist place. They got incense. There probably wood donuts there. The taste of the room is smoky. That's not working. Oh yeah, it thinks we're in a monastery. The cheers and laughter were like monks in a monastery. We're not there. But let's see. Alvanetta's touch is a combination of corded rope in her own hands, her own body, her own heartbeat. Ooh, I like that. Okay, so basically this is, again, that writing conversation. You take what you want, you leave what you don't. Okay. It's a really good suggestion, although we are not in a monastery. I do have a gong and there's peace and sound waves. So maybe if I put something in here like she's at the hospital, that would, and you can do that in pseudo, right? You could go up here and put it in brackets, they're at a hospital, that kind of thing, if that's what you wanted to do. Yeah, I can see that. But you see, like, it knows some things, but it doesn't know everything. Sometimes it gets over predictive. So you can't just let it run free and do what it wants to do. Okay. Let's look at one last thing over here. And it's the story engine. So when you're in pseudo write, you can just use it I might use it for a couple of paragraphs. I might use it to rewrite or might look for some suggestions. Some people build from the bottom with story engine. So I just clicked on story engine in there. And I was going to show y'all a video, but the sound isn't working. So I'm just going to try to walk us through it. What a person does in story engine is they write what they know about their story. So let's say this is going to be a story about a man who, what did he do? What did the man do, y'all? Learned how to fly despite what? Being in a wheelchair. All right, so this is going to be, is it historical? What do you say? Historical fiction. Steampunk. Wait a minute. Steampunk. Let's do it. All right. What kind of style? So let me just say, this is one of those style things where you could teach it your style. If you're in pseudo write and you wanted to know your style, you click match my style, and it's going to ask you to cut and paste 2,000 words of your writing. When you put it in there, it'll kick out, what your style is, and it'll pop up, it'll populate over here. So let's just say short sentences, lots of dialogue, lots of action. Okay, that's all we're going to put in for the sake of time. You would upload a synopsis. I'm going to just copy this over here. I don't let pseudo write generate a bunch of stuff for me. I like to, if I want to use this, I fill in all this stuff myself. But we're going to let it do a lot more writing than I would in real life. So let's just say this is all we know. This is a story about a man who learned how to fly despite being in a wheelchair. Let's generate. And it's going to give me a whole synopsis. His name is Jack, apparently. All right, go Jack. And let's see. In the small town of Millfield, there lived a man named Jack who was confined to a wheelchair due to a tragic accident that left him paralyzed from the waist down. I don't know what the accident was. I would not let it do this for me. I would come to it with this just so that, all right. So now I'm over here with the characters. I don't even know who the characters are, but I could tell it to generate, and it will generate some characters for me. There's Jack. You knew Jack was going to be there, right? There's somebody named Marissa. There's Eric. He's tall and muscular. All right, go Eric. All right. From there, a person, if they wanted to, this is where I usually get in with it. They'll build your whole outline if you want them to. They will get your beats going, and they will actually start writing your chapter. Let me just go ahead and generate these real fast, and then we'll generate the beats and let it try to do something. This is totally not even my story at this point, right? This whole computer's writing this thing. While that's happening, let me just stop and answer any questions. Who's got questions? Okay, back row. Yes, all these names, it's making up all kinds of stuff. All these names it just created just now. Jack Thompson, Marissa Coleman, Eric Daniels, Dr. Laura Simmons, Nathan Wright. These are all people that this whole thing just made up. Then we go to the beats, and this is like, now we're getting ready to write chapter 1. So it gave us a whole Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 plot. We have, oh, it's still going. We have 19, 20 chapters. Yes. Okay, that's enough chapters. Goodness gracious. And then after that, we can generate what are the beats. So beats are what's going to happen in the first chapter, what's going to happen like step by step by step. I usually fill in all of this first, and then it'll start writing the prose. There are two different options. You could do best prose, which is fairly fast, and it's very flowery, and every single chapter ends with a hopeful note. And hopefully tomorrow would be a better day. Like every single chapter ends that way. Okay. Yeah, it's very friendly. And it's automatic. Yes, all kinds of weird things happen. All of them want to keep everyone happy. Yeah, all the characters like they want to go on. Everyone's, yes. No, doesn't do. No, it solves all the conflicts really quickly. And then they make up like at the very end. Yes. So no, it's not really true. I would say, so the comments have been that all the AI wants everyone to be happy at the end of every chapter. I would say that one of the things you could do if you were using AI to help you write, however you wanted to do that, to whatever extent you decided to do, what you would need to do, which is at some level, I'm almost like, if you do all that, you might as well just go and write the chapter, is you would at the top be like, this chapter ends on a sad note. Do not try to wrap it up with a happy ending. And sometimes it'll still do it, but I mean, maybe it won't. Another thought over there? I have not. Interesting. We've got an idea of having the AI take on the character and having an interview with that character. That would be really good for marketing too. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes it picks it up. I think once you have that long conversation. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Like you try to do a story from point of view of okay, the question is for the folks in the chat, does it recognize point of view and dialogue and all these different aspects of the craft? Does it break it down? Yes, it will write dialogue. I don't let it write dialogue for me because I love writing dialogue. That's the thing I love the most. So whatever it puts out, I delete it because that's not what I want to write. I don't want to write description. I don't want to write the sun was blowing. I don't want to write any of that. I don't usually like to even dress people. Like they have on clothes, but people want to know if she had on a red shirt. And sometimes it matters in the scene, but not usually in my world. But people love details as readers. And so I'm going to show y'all in a second how I use it to do the things that I know I don't want to do or I'm not good at. And I spend my time on that dialogue because that's what I love. I might as well just be writing scripts probably for movies because that's what I really like. But you can say, write this in third person point of view from Stephanie's perspective, use deep POV. You can tell it now, sometimes it's not going to do all of that. If you start telling it to do too much, it gets a little lost sometimes. So I think of it like when I taught algebra, because I'm like a math minor and English major. It's a weird brain, which is kind of why I like this, like techie stuff. But it's kind of like a graphing calculator in an algebra class. If you don't really already understand algebra, that calculator is not going to help you. Right. So I think of it like that. It is a tool, but in the hands of a really good writer, a lot of stuff can happen with this. In the hands of a writer who's just getting started, a lot of stuff can be learned with this and mimicked with this. I like to ask it a lot of times, why did you do that? How did you know to make the rain in this scene that's going to be sad? And it'll give you the rationale in ChatGPT so you can start to understand all that kind of stuff. Yes, critique chapters is another one. All right, let's keep moving because we're almost out of time. Ooh, lots of good questions, lots of good conversation going on. I hope I'm not missing too much in the chat. Oh, nothing in the chat. All right, we're good. Let's move on to so anyway, let me see what it's gonna. Let's let Pseudo-Write generate a little bit of this chapter in best prose. So they have two options. You have best prose or you have most accurate. Most accurate is going to be, most accurate. I'm going to tell it to pause, but it has to go so far before it does it. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, Poe. I like Poe. I like Poe a lot. Poe knows more about literature to me than ChatGPT does. It's built for literature. Okay. So the way that I use Poe is I like to use it to analyze things for me. Poe is now has something called Claude 2 100K. You could attach your whole novel to this thing and have it give you analysis of the whole entire novel. So this is a short story that I wrote called A Carpenter Story. It's about a boy who he got this job in the trades and he was having trouble getting along with his boss. So I just attached it and I'm going to ask it, what are the strengths and weaknesses? If I could spell weakness of this story. And it's going to take a minute to read it. It's a PDF file. Oh, did I do the wrong thing? I think I did assistant. Say that again. I don't know if it, I don't know if it takes a Word doc. I know it takes PDF. That's all I haven't tried the other ones. That's a great question. So it's giving me the strengths. It's an engaging narrative, realistic setting. It's giving me some of the weaknesses. These are things I need to go back and fix. It's about an 8-page piece. So that was a pretty quick output. I have paid people hundreds of dollars to do this, to give me feedback on my work. And this is not, I actually agreed. I tried this earlier and I agreed with this whole thing. Yeah, it's a short story. So it does go pretty fast. Lack of detailed description. Bam, that would be me. That makes sense. But I like Poe for analyzing things that already exist because it points out the strengths. ChatGPT has not been this frank with me. Poe will tell you that your stuff is messed up. And that's why I like Poe. Poe, I know that you can pay for Poe, but I've been using it with limited access for months and nobody has kicked me out yet. So I wouldn't be paying for Poe. When they make me pay, I'll pay. But nothing going on there. I don't use Poe to write. I mean, I wouldn't use Poe to write for any reason at all. Because I mean, it can write, but it is not the best writer. I think Poe is a better analyzer than a writer. So here's my favorite way. Let's see, have we done? Oh, we got to do those other two. Oh, where are we? Oh, I need to do this one. My favorite way to use ChatGPT, and I'm watching my time. This is about some people are like, ooh, you have told me more than enough for tonight. Okay, I want to show y'all this one real quickly. So this is my favorite way to use ChatGPT. This is my actual prompt. So if you want to use this prompt, you're welcome to use it. Act as my ghostwriter. I want you to fill in some parts of my manuscript in a way that makes sense with the rest of the context in the sample. The parts that I want you to write will be in brackets. Use the instructions I put in the brackets to write prose that matches the same style, voice, and sentence structure of the sample. Only rewrite what is in the brackets. Do not rewrite text that isn't in the brackets. Here is the excerpt from the manuscript. Okay. I'm going to copy all this, and take it over to ChatGPT and see what they do. So let's look at the actual text. Angela and Mark held hands as they walked through the door of the restaurant. Describe what it looks like to walk inside a small town diner in the middle of the day. Because I do not want to write that. But I have to be pretty specific, you see, even with that. A waitress wearing, describe her clothes, and far too much perfume, that's from me, smacked her gum as they took a seat. What y'all gonna have? She asked in classic Southern drawl. Should have an L. Oh, we're not sure yet, Angela said with a grin. It's our first time here. The waitress laughed. Probably be your last too. She threw 2 menus at them and walked away. Mark whispered, let's get out of here. So this is what I wrote. So I'm going to take it over to ChatGPT. I'm going to open the new chat. And I think 4 is better than 3.5. This one's the one that's $20 a month. But 3.5 isn't bad. And $20 a month for a helper of this extent, I don't think is that bad. So yes. Yes, give me that. Yes. On a Mac. Yeah, but I mean, are the oh, okay. Okay, thank you. I knew there had to be a way, but I hadn't figured it out. All right, so everything that I just read to you, the directions and the actual text are in here. Let's see what they do. Sometimes they don't listen to me. There's more sunlight pouring in through the windows. Angela and Mark held hands as they walked through the door of the restaurant. Sunlight poured in through the large windows, casting a soft glow. Blah, 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 blah. Casting a soft glow on the faded checkered floor. Old leather boots lined the walls, some with foam peeking out from the... That's a lot. I wouldn't use all that. A large counter, but it's good. It's actually pretty good. A waitress wearing a white blouse with small blue flowers, a faded denim skirt, and scuffed white sneakers, and far too much perfume smacked her gum as they took a seat. Those are the only 2 things that it asked. But you see how it learned my style a little bit. It understood what was going on and plugged it in. All right. So there's that. Let me just if you want to watch any student write videos, they are available online. I use Claude for that purpose that I told you about. Here's some prompt guidance for how to prompt it. Give it the context, give it an actual task, give it a role sometimes, tell it what you want and how you want the output. And then the last couple of things have to do with art. And Alan mentioned DALL-E earlier. So there are copyright concerns with art. Let me just back up and say, if you have art that's created by artificial intelligence, you do not have the copyright to that art. Meaning somebody else could use that art. They can make a t-shirt out of it. We could all make a t-shirt out of it if we wanted to. I think anybody who really knows AI art can make their own, actually, I think. But here's the other thing too. I remember I had several books out with major publishers, and they were just going and getting stock art. And I would see that same cover on somebody else's book anyway. You might have owned the license to use it, but you never actually owned the copyright in the first place anyway. So I don't know. It's a, half a dozen. I don't know. It's a huge stink because the way they got the art, they trained the robots again on art that they didn't ask permission to do that. And so there's a lot of stink about this stuff, just FYI. And real artists are like, what in the world, So DALL-E is what Alan was talking about earlier. DALL-E is owned by the same company that owns ChatGPT. So FYI. And here you can put in what you want and see what comes out. So earlier we had a dog wearing shorts. And you want to tell it what kind of style you want it. So let's say photorealistic. And let's see what we get. It's going to generate 4. Well, I think no, that's not him. No, it's just thinking. Yeah, and they're just telling you what other people did. So if you wanted, I had never thought about it. Whoa. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Let's regenerate that. Yeah, let's regenerate that again. Oh, I want to see them. I don't know why my favorite thing on here is impressionistic. Maybe because it doesn't have to be like right. I don't know. All right, let's try another one. Dog wearing shorts in impressionistic style. See what we come up with. Oh, he's kind of cute. Okay. There's a question on the front row up here. I was just going to ask that. Does it pick up in the time of text and speaking of the accent of them or somebody with that would probably, I bet you could program it in some way to do that, but I wouldn't trust AI to do that type of specific thing for me, like change V's to W's and like a dialectical thing. Mm-hmm. Right. I think if I have it in I'd have to play around with it. I mean, I haven't tried it, but I imagine you could program it to do just about anything you wanted to do. But I wouldn't trust it. Like, and nothing generated in AI is to be trusted, just so that you know. I had a question about when Poe analyzes your script, does it retain it? I think it's going into the whole world as something else to be entered into the understanding of literature. I haven't read the agreement that closely, but I don't doubt that that's what's happening with it. Well, anything on the World Wide Web is on the World Wide Web. You know what I mean? So this is the first thing that's happened. We've got now, AI, but what else is going to happen? I mean, we already know what's happening with our phones and how if you have a conversation with somebody about, and then next thing you know, it's on your phone. So we already know we're being watched. I'm just saying. Question, what in the chat, does chat generate? So if chat generates a book cover, author doesn't own the copyright. That is correct. No one owns the copyright. It is in the public domain, is what I'm saying to you. Okay. All right, my friends, we're going to have to wrap it up there. Let me see if there's any last words. All right. We've been talking and questioning and answering along the way. So real quickly, as we get out, those of you who are in the house and those of you who are in the chat, just turn to your person, thank them for being your person tonight, and ask and talk about something that you want to try, something that you learned.
Thanks for attending this talk from the Dallas Area Writers Group. For more information, go to www.dallaswriters.org. If you enjoyed this presentation, please like it and also subscribe to this channel. Thank you, and see you next time.